Hello everybody, welcome into PGR eSports Live with some Friday night money racing from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Getting ready to go here tonight. I believe this is actually the third week of this series, and a little bit of a change up from what we see Thursdays. Not much different. One of the things, though, of course, being the cars. We're in the Xfinity Series here tonight. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But before we do, drivers have gotten qualifying complete, so let's get right down trackside and get into your starting grid. Taking the pole here tonight is going to be John Mullihan from McCullough Motorsports, put down a 53.9. Vicente Guerrero won an OP championship just a couple nights ago. He will roll off on the outside pole. Kevin Freeze back in third with Ken McCullough Jr. in fourth. Dawson Wise in fifth, racing tonight. Normally up here in the booth. We'll keep an eye on him. Cody Nagels for Dale Cup to his outside in sixth. Matt Lee back in seventh with Andrew Navarro in eighth. Anthony English, good to see him in the field here tonight. He will roll off ninth. And David Sheets rounding out your top 10. Trevor Osinoff and Thomas Parker, two KSR teammates, making up row number 6. It's going to be Christopher Carter and J.R. Miller in row 7. Joe Herda in 15th with John Ward in 16th. Kenneth Stamper 17th with Sean Corbett in 18th. Justin Mills 19th with Dustin Carruthers rounding out your top 20. Mark Vondell 21st. Ryan Hennings in 22nd. Zach Range back in 23rd. Robert Wagner in 24th. Mark Math in 25th. Ron Morris Jr. in 26th with Mike Davenport in 27th. Kenny Reel will roll off in 28th. Tim White in 29th. And Jacob Fears rounding out your top 30. Jacob Emery, good to see him tonight. He will roll off 31st. Stephen Scott Jr. 32nd. Tayshawn McGaney, I believe it is, will roll off 33rd. Bradley Steffen in 34th. Dylan Jones 35th with Logan York in 36th. And Jimmy Emos rounds out the field tonight. He will roll off from 37th. Looking at your race info breakdown, again, it is some Friday Night Superspeedway racing, and the series is pretty much just that, the Friday Night Superspeedway Series. But again, unlike the trucks that we see on Thursdays tonight, we're in the Xfinity cars. 55 laps with 55% fuel, unlimited tires, one fast repair. Another thing that's different, of course, with that one fast repair, fixed setups as always, and then 3 green-white checkers. Weather outside, 83 degrees, 26% humidity. Clear skies, winds at 2 miles an hour. Track temp over 130 degrees. Scorching temp with these cars means we are going to see a lot of guys that are really, really loose. It's going to be a lot of interesting, but a lot of exciting racing. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that all night as well. 2.65 miles the length of Talladega Superspeedway. Over 30 degrees of banking in the corners. And the start-finish line about 100 yards after the tri-oval. Something that is also different than what we would see at a track like Daytona. All right, well, as we get ready to go back green here tonight, you know, a lot of racing going on, a lot of things that we're getting excited for, but going to be one guy in the field here tonight that's racing with a little bit more of a heavy heart, and we will be broadcasting with a little bit more of a heavy heart here tonight as we learned some sad news for the Zach Range camp that his dog, Little Buddy, unfortunately passed away recently due to sudden heart failure. A dog that he said randomly showed up at their door one day, I think he said back in 2018, and sweet little guy there. See his picture we've got up on the screen now, and one of those things, man, animals, I'll tell you what, so especially dogs, can really act as your best friends sometimes, and certainly was sad to hear that news for Zach Range, and I know it would mean a lot if he could get the win here tonight, but he's certainly going to be racing, thinking about Little Buddy, and we will be thinking about him as well. All right, here we go. Pace car going to make the left turn for the first time here tonight. Field in the hands of John Mullahan and Vicente Guerrero. Flagman is ready to go, and so are we. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Talladega. Lap 1 is complete. It's going to go to the 14 of Vicente Guerrero, rolling on the outside right now with a push from his Dale Cup teammate Cody Nagels. They've also got Kevin Freeze in the outside along with 44 of Andrew Navarro, who's just on the inside. I was getting ready to say, though, the 9, Dawson Wise. Again, we don't normally see out on the track. Normally used to seeing him up in the booth, but he decided he'd try to get to work here tonight. You see he's got the Jack Shack paint scheme on, so he'll probably be working with some of the KSR teammates here tonight, as that is one of the side teams that they've formed up. Meanwhile, though, how about this? This is a little out of characteristic for us. 2x2 uniform throughout the field here. There's a lot of money on the line tonight. It was a $26 entry, and we've got, again, almost 40 entries. So it was supposed to be a just over $1,000 payout, and it's probably going to come pretty darn close to that. And that makes me think that the racing should be pretty aggressive uniform throughout this whole race, but even with that one fast pair in the pocket, nobody willing to push the envelope just yet. And now, of course, that I've said that, looks like we do have two guys looking to try to shake things up. Shouldn't be too surprised. One of them is Logan York in the 0-2, as he is pushing on the back bumper of Dustin Carruthers in the 11. And that 3-wide action could maybe pick up a little bit more momentum here if they can get somebody else to jump. Problem is, nobody wants to go right now. John Ward, the 92, he's got a shot, but he's not going to take it. Now here we go, Zach Range in the 043 car. Looks like he will jump to the outside. If he can get there, that would be that third car help, and that might be all they need. It's a battle of temps, though, when the track temp is as hot as it is. And right now, it's going to be really, really tough, especially with those top two lines, or excuse me, with the bottom two lines pushing as hard as they are. Now JR Miller, he's going to take a risk as he will also jump up, and that strengthens that third lane now to 4 cars as they race into turn number 1. A couple more behind, the 76 of Ron Morris Jr. along with the 88 as well back there. The 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. currently leading the way with, he's got some help from his teammate John Mullahan, who remember qualified on pole. Great qualifying effort from Mullahan. Vicente Guerrero back to the outside as he's already trying to work the lanes here early. Back to the bottom he goes into turn 3. That'll allow Cody Nagels to cool down again. Watch for maybe Dawson Wise to jump up into the third lane. If he doesn't, I don't think anyone else will. I think Kevin Freeze is content where he is. Vicente Guerrero is going to keep working on controlling these 2 lanes. Dawson Wise, he's still got a chance to do it, but man, if that third lane dies, it could be a mistake. Now remember, the guy that's leading that third lane has the freshest temps of really anybody up here at this point. So if you choose to jump out there, you know you're going to get pushing. It's just a matter of if you get good enough pushing to get all the way to the front. And so as Vicente continues to work these lanes, I just think it's really tough for anybody else to want to try to make a move out, as they know that he's doing such a good job working the air between both lines that nobody can really get any sort of a run by jumping out to that third lane. Just as I say it, proving me wrong, JR Miller showing that hot track temp along with engine temps. Oh man, one of them out of control. For the back, that was the 88. I think that was that Jacob Fears? Might have been. Man, that was really, really close. He got all out of shape. That's exactly what it was Jacob Fears, and man, that was a phenomenal save. As Ron Morris Jr. and Sean Ward tucked in just behind him. And now 3x3. This time it is a dead heat as they cross the stripe. That lap goes to the 14 again, but JR Miller, Ken McCullough Jr. work side by side with the 14, and just like that, 3 wide throughout the field here on lap 6. No scheduled stage breaks. All we have is potentially some green flag pit stops, and at 55% fuel, these cars can go just over 20 laps. So I don't think that anybody can make it quite on one stop, although it certainly is relatively close. Wouldn't argue to say that it's impossible, but you'd have to save a lot of fuel, and I just don't think anybody's going to be able to save anywhere near that amount. 14 of Vicente Guerrero now with another great push from Cody Nagels. He will draw back even with Ken McCullough Jr. as now that third lane is finally going to start to fade here a little bit. JR Miller still getting pushed from the 11, but they just don't, I just don't know if they're running out of temps or if the lane is just not pushing as much as they're expecting here. And if nobody else jumps out, it's going to be really, really tough to get clear of that middle and then ultimately clear the bottom at this rate. For the back of the pack, we'll hop on board here with Trevor Osinoff as he is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. With the KSR drivers looking for some teammates right now. And he is not quite in no man's land. He's on the bottom of 3 wide, but still in a very, very sketchy portion of this pack right now, being right about at the middle as the 44 gets on the apron. That was Anthony English. Or no, excuse me, that was not actually. That was that. Might have been. No, it was indeed Anthony English. Trevor Osinoff sitting just behind the 44 machine. And so as it stands, you already see that these cars dart around as much as they do. Look how much Trevor's working the wheel, both in real life and in the cockpit, or the virtual cockpit rather. But I think that's just kind of showing you already the tire wear that a lot of these guys are experiencing. And again, that only gets worse as the run goes on. These tires could you wear? Oh, Ken McCullough Jr. up into Cody Nagels. I don't think that was by intent at all. I think he maybe either got a little bit of tunnel vision and then got stuck together or just washed up the track. Either way, they both hold it together. It's just a slight tap. No harm, no foul. And they're all going to continue on. But, man, another close call. As now it's the 11 getting a big push. Could be potentially one of the first laps led here tonight for the 11 machine. By the way, Kenny Reel doing a phenomenal job in the 27. See him up here trying to throw his weight around a little bit in the at 11 car. We were just talking about, he's getting pushed by Logan York and Zach Range. By the way, I thought the 11 earlier was Dustin Carruthers. I apologize for that. Again, these guys win the Xfinity cars. A little bit different schemes what we're used to seeing with the trucks. But nonetheless, how about our co-broadcaster and then, of course, lead broadcaster here on Friday nights, Dawson Wise. Covered last night when I couldn't make it. Certainly appreciate everything he does, both in the channel and on track, as right now he is running well inside the top 10, but going to need to pick up at least 2 more spots by the end of this race if he wants to cash. It is only a top 5 payout here tonight. We'll talk more about exactly what those payouts are before this race is all said and done. But right now, you can see even Dawson hobbling around just a little bit there in that middle lane as, caution's out. Do we have trouble further back? We do. Multiple cars scattering as, Dustin Carruthers, Anthony English. And it looks like one of the other KSR cars, I think that's Kenneth Stamper. Sure enough, it is in the 30. With trouble here. Carruthers is going to take another shot off the inside wall. And that car is junk. Well, they made some updates today, and this almost looks like a new damage model. I'm not sure officially if they did, but it really, really looks like a new damage model update there for the damage that Carruthers had. But before we talk any more about that, let's go see what happens here. I mean, this starts in the middle of 3 and 4 and translated pretty much all the way to the front straightaway here. Anthony English, does he get some help here? Does he just get on the apron by himself? All right, so here's the first view of it. We're going to go to the zoomed in of Anthony English. Watch, he's got David Sheets there on his outside. Sheets is in the middle here. Does Sheets get into him? I don't think he did. Ooh, maybe he did there. There might have been some slight netcode right there. Sends Anthony English down to the apron. And then as English tries to come back up, gets hit again by David Sheets. And then as he tries to save it the 3rd time, that's when the car finally starts to get out of shape. And then, ouch! That's a hard hit for Anthony English. And Dustin Carruthers, dead right to the outside wall. That was a huge impact. But it looked like the wreck almost started. There was 2 wrecks here. And the first one, of course, was Anthony English trying to save this car. But then the second one, almost out back, is what kind of ultimately led to the pileup. So let's go to the chopper view and first, again, see what happens here to David Sheets. Again, hot track temp, tires start to get slick, and yeah, David Sheets is coming down a little bit. He gets down, he hits Anthony English once there. Or was that the second hit? That may have been the second hit, actually. Yeah, now you can see English is trying to save it here. And as he comes back up, that's when the car is going to step out on him. Oswald is going to have to jam on the brakes, but he's able to miss it. It's actually up top there with the 2 and the 199. That's Mark Math and I believe Robert Wagner. Yep. And the 2 machine. And they're just, they're watching this, and Wagner just kind of washes up. Mark Math is there, gets slight contact to his left front on the right rear for Robert Wagner, and sends the 2 down into the 10, and then the wreck's on from there. Huge hit for Robert Wagner as well. That car, all 4 tires off the ground, and then Anthony English here gets wedged into the wall, nowhere to go for him. The rest of them all pile in behind. Here's a couple more looks at it. So it's about a 5-car incident in total with looks like Carruthers, Wagner, and English getting the worst, but Math got some pretty heavy damage as well. And from what we're looking at here, it looks like there's a couple guys that had major suspension issues after this and could not stop before hitting the inside wall. And I'm curious here, go to onboard view here, as I apologize for the letters in the way. There we go. And this is on the onboard of Dustin Carruthers. Watch after this hit here. There's the big hit, and then as car straightens out, it's like the throttle's stuck. I'm not sure if gave up on driving it there at the end, realized it was destroyed, what the deal was, but definitely a little interesting. And then take one more view here from the outside angle. Man, that's a brutal, brutal impact. Show that again from the zoomed in one more time. For not just Carruthers, but also Robert Wagner, of course. Took the brunt hit right there, and then watch this hit for Anthony English. Car almost up and over as Mark Math hits him in the front. So that's how we see our first caution here of the night. And so it looks like we're going to have to do this manual way here tonight. No harm, no foul there. As we do go back live, and the letters should go away. There we go. Dawson Wise, how about that, being scored as your leader. Currently sitting in second is Kevin Freeze. Kenny Reel back in third, with Vicente Guerrero in fourth. Cody Nagels rounding out your top 5. Andrew Navarro in 6th. Zach Range back in 7th with John Mullihan in 8th. J.R. Miller 9th. And Jacob Fears rounding out your top 10. And he is already up 20 positions from where he started, by the way, Jacob Fears. So I don't know if he's been in this series the last couple of weeks, but first time that I've seen him out here and showing a lot of strength here early on, at least early in this going. See if he can keep it up. 12 laps complete Only thing this really changes for us in terms of strategy is it does now make it officially a one-stop. So these guys, again, can go probably about, say, 20 to 24 laps, somewhere in that range. So that gives you, you know, right around 36 where you have to go in and top off. So, again, everybody should be good to go here on one stop now. And we'll see if that makes the racing even more aggressive or if these guys maybe decide to try to simmer it down for a little bit. So you have to see how they decide to go about it here. By the way, appreciate anybody that's tuning in. We're watching Friday Night Superspeedway Racing on PGR eSports. Used to seeing these guys on Thursday, but here we are on Friday getting more of the same, just different car. Heard earlier that right now it's the best Superspeedway car, and again, I was wondering if the damage model got updated slightly today with the way we saw that damage on Carruthers' car. Just looked a little different than what we're used to seeing. The way the roll bar was still attached after the front end got ripped off. Be interesting to see. I'll have to talk to some of these guys about it afterwards, but the point being, whether the damage model is changed or not, with the track temp this hot, the cars are going to be hard to handle. It's just what it is. Whether we were in the trucks, cup cars, or Xfinity cars, it's going to be a tough task, but certainly got to make sure that you try to maintain track position while, of course, keeping yourself ahead of the strategy game, because as soon as you lose that track position, we've seen it time and time again, it's just so incredibly difficult to try to get it back, and next thing you know, you find yourself buried outside of the top 25 with 10 laps to go, and usually does not end too well. All right, here we go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. Dawson Wise through the gears. Kenny Reel looking to give a push to that 9 machine, but it's the outside that's going to get rolling a little bit quicker here. Kevin Freeze, Vicente Guerrero, cantered up, down into turn number 1. They get the momentum, but now the inside will start to resurge. Kenny Reel is going to have to stay glued to the bumper of Dawson Wise right here. It's going to be his only chance, especially with the momentum that this outside is going to carry down the back. There you go, Vicente Guerrero. He's locked on. The bottom is not. The 25 is going to get clear. Just like that, Kevin Freeze will take the lead into turn number 3. Vicente Guerrero, Cody Nagels now back lined up 1-2 on the outside. This is the position that they were in for quite some time when Vicente was able to work the lanes and keep Dale Cup out in front. And now watch to see if Cody can push that 14 clear of Kevin, and if he can, he might start to rotate. But Dawson Wise, the lead pusher on the inside here for Kevin Freeze. That's going to be a hard duo to try to push around. And quick before we see 3 wide, looks like the 88 of Jacob Fears didn't take long. Oh, Davenport and Fears hard into the outside wall. They scattered and miss it. More contact. It's Carruthers again. Davenport gets back rolling on the apron. And, man, Dustin Carruthers. What a tough break to start this race. Gets involved in the first wreck, uses the fast repair, gets it cleaned up, and less than 2 laps later, he's got himself in the second wreck. And this damage, it looks like it might be repairable. I don't see smoke out of the back, but I don't think this car is going to be in race-winning shape anymore here tonight. And you see Davenport with the damage he's got. That'll be his one and only fast repair of the night gone right here as well. He's got a lot of damage, including suspension there. You see that car porpoising around. All right, well, second caution here in just 15 laps. Let's go back and take a look at it. What's 55 here? Zoom this in. And it's, I talked about the 88 going 3 wide here, and I don't know if it was by choice or if he was falling to the back, got shuffled out, whatever the deal was here. But I think he's just going to come down here and clip Davenport. That's what he does. I'm not really sure there. My best guess is that, you know, Jacob Fears was trying, I would assume here, to just get a side draft on Davenport, because to be fair, there is definitely some net code right here. I mean, look at this. He never touches him. In fact, there's probably about half a foot to a foot between those two cars. But, you know, he was definitely moving down, and again, I'm assuming he was probably going for a side draft. And once the game thought there was some contact, it turns Davenport hard into the outside wall. Similar hit to what we saw for Anthony English, and then there's the on-rushing Dustin Carruthers with absolutely nowhere to go. He committed to the outside, and that's where the 55 was. Yeah, 55 is junk, and I think the 10 is potentially going to be more of the same here. Difference is one's got a fast repair, one doesn't. Watch it here from TV3 too. And everybody else, I think for the most part, missed this. Oh, except for the 25 there on the bottom. You saw with some contact, wasn't able to quite sneak around. And I believe that was I thought that was Christopher Carter for a moment, but it was not. We've got 325s in here tonight. Actually, we'll see if we can... Can't tell exactly who it is, at least not from this view. And I was trying to figure out, I think that was Tayshawn. Yeah, sure enough it was. And he's just, he's on the brakes here, but same thing where the 88 who was in the wreck, the way it kind of all plays out here, watch this. Just right in front of him. I mean, he committed to the inside. He was going to miss initially, but when that 88 gets shot towards the inside, there's just nowhere to go. And he runs smack dab into the rear end. That rips the hood off of his car, and he's also going to be going back to the pits for some repairs. Give you one more view of this here from the drone cam from Mike Davenport. And there's the first big hit. Collects two of them. It looked like initially they were maybe going to stay up there, but wasn't the case. And then there's the second big hit for Dustin Carruthers. As boy, a couple of these guys really playing it risky with trying to shoot the gap without checking up, which when it works great. But boy, if it doesn't work, you can certainly end a guy's night. And it was a risky game to play, but nonetheless, we'll go back live up front. Andrew Navarro being scored as your leader. David Sheets in second with Bradley Steffen in third. Tim White fourth. Mark Math in fifth. Ron Morris Jr. in sixth. Anthony English seventh with Jimmy Emos in eighth. Vicente Guerrero ninth. And Kevin Freeze rounding out your top 10. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us at Talladega.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Getting ready for another restart. Here we go. 17 going to be 18 laps complete when they cross the checkers this time. Field in the hands of Andrew Navarro and David Sheets. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. Good start for the inside. Navarro, though, maybe a little bit too far out. He's awaiting help here from Bradley Steffen. Meanwhile, on the outside, good organization from David Sheets and Nash Brambilla. Ron Morris Jr. is still up there as well, trying to assist his McCullough Motorsports teammate. Navarro's going to have a choice to make here because either lane is stacked up, at least not yet. Does he stay low or does he jump high? Looks like he's going to stay low. Outside is rolling, but they were able to get locked back up on the bottom, so they're going to hold even here down the back. Ooh, Brambilla with a bit of a checkup right there. Looked like a bit of a stack-up effect, and man, that was really, really close. 44 of Navarro. Oh, caution is out. Trouble out back. Trouble in turn 3. And again, another one that's going to involve multiple cars. Oh, looks like we had somebody blink out there for just a moment as well, but Mark Vondel, from the cars we can see at least so far, looks like he's got one of the worst of it. The 59. From McCullough Motorsports, he's got the Oregon Ducks scheme on there, but he was riding towards the middle back portions of the pack, just taking it easy. And man, again, another wreck before we even get here to lap 1. On the restart, I guess I should say, before we even complete lap 1 on the restart. And I think it's going to start a bit ahead here of Mark Vondel. I don't think it actually starts right at Mark Vondel. And looking up, Ken McCullough Jr. happens in front of him. Ooh, starts with Matt Lee, it actually looks like, who got destroyed. And this one as well. Man, there was a couple big hits. I saw Zach Range, plethora of other drivers. So that is where it starts, is Zach Range, Logan York, and Matt Lee. And we'll go to the chopper view first here. So you see Zach Range is in the middle. Logan York up top. It's a tight squeeze here. You can already tell these guys are not giving each other much room. And then going into turn 3, this is going to get really, really sketchy here. Logan York says, you know what? I'm in my lane. I'm not moving. And there's still room there, but you can see it's tightening it up. And now there's going to be a checkup up top. Although, I'll tell you what. Lee, it looks to me like Lee comes up there. I mean, Range, like I said, I know it's a tight squeeze, but yeah, I mean, Matt Lee comes up there. Watch the 04 here. Watch the 04. He slowly drifts up, and he's not drifting up much. And, you know, to be fair, with as close as it is, there's maybe a chance Range slightly drifted down. But, I mean, from what we can see here, it definitely looks to me like Lee is drifting up the track. And as Lee drifts up, he eventually drifts right into the door of Zach Range with as tight as they're running. That gets Range up into York and then sends him back down into Matt Lee. These two are going to get glued together. And now the wreck's on. Almost dead right into the outside wall goes Matt Lee. Huge hit. Logan York, you see, he gets turned around as well. I think he's going to be able to hold it off the outside wall here. Not sure if he got hit. There's Mark Vondel at the onrush. Nowhere to go as he clobbers Zach Range. And then Range is going to roll down the banking here. 25 tries to sneak by. That's Christopher Carter. He makes some contact as well. Let's just hear from a different angle. This is TV2. And we switch it over right at the last second to TV1. And there's that initial hit. There's the hit from Mark Vondel. And, oh, man, the 2 of Robert Wagner. Another car who was involved in an earlier wreck in this one. So I'll probably take his fast repair. Let's go. I'm going to go first to the zoomed-in view and then the onboard view here for Zach Range. And, man, that's a huge hit. See, he gets spun around. I think Range does have a fast repair, by the way. But watch how tight this is as a driver. Just in general, watch. It's just tightening up. It's like a tunnel that just continues to get narrower and narrower until finally can't fit through it anymore. Slides through the grass, gets hit around a couple times, and gets back going. Take a look from the wall cam. Turn 3. So the early story so far for this race has certainly been carnage, lots of it. And now it's going to change the strategy up even more because each caution that we get, you get closer and closer to making it on one stop. Can't do so yet. We're going to have to make it to, I'd say, probably at least lap 30, 32. But just with the general trend, you start to maybe tell yourself, just stay out. We're going to get a caution around that fuel window. I'll pit then, but definitely been a mix of strategies so far as it'll be 21 laps complete when they cross the stripe this time. And it is Bradley Steffen, who is up 33 positions from where he started this race at, being scored as your leader. So a great run going right now for Bradley in that 89 machine. Tim White in second right now. And I'm going to apologize. I have been saying Nash Brambilla the whole time, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because Nash runs the 23, and he also always runs the Viking scheme. And for some reason, I was just not even thinking about the 9. And so this whole time, I've been sitting here saying Nash Brambilla. It was Tim White. I apologize. It has been a long day. Moved out from the apartment, but Tim White, hats off to you. Doing a phenomenal job so far. He's in second, and that's right. He has been up front all night. I've been mistaking him a couple times there for Nash Brambilla. All right, going back a little bit further. Mark Math up here now, as is Anthony English, Vicente Guerrero, Cody Nagels. Jimmy Emos, the 97 is up 30 from where he started, actually in the 98. John Mullihan in 8th, down 7 from where he qualified on the pole. Kevin Freese still in the top 10, as is Brian Hennings. 21 of 55 complete, going to be 22 of 55 complete, so we are approaching that halfway mark, not quite there yet. It'll be right around lap 27, 28. Transition between those two will be the halfway point. And again, that fuel window is going to open up probably right around... you know what, I'll tell you what, I'd say to be safe, you got to go lap 35. I think any sooner than that, it's kind of a little bit close. Just depending on what you decide to go with as a driver. Good to see everybody in here tonight. Devin Ray. Hope you're having a good night. And looks like Cole Fitzpatrick's in here. Hope you're having a good night as well. Cole, we appreciate you tuning in. Rooting on, I believe, I know that he's rooting on Zach Range, but I was going to say, I believe Zach Range is his teammate. All right, here we go. Pace car going to make the left turn for the 3rd time here tonight. One blinking on the outside with a Jimmy Emos. Watch for that to potentially cause some stacking up here on the restart. As the 98 is going to go ahead and pull out of line here. Looks like he is going to go ahead and fade back. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. A little bit of stacking up on the bottom further back. You could see it a couple of cars deep, but it looks like they're all going to be able to get away without any issues. A lot of good looking schemes further back. Sean Corbett, Justin Mills all getting up to speed. Meanwhile, up front, Tim White on the outside with no help. You got Mark Math pushing Bradley Steffen on the inside. Here comes the cavalry, the 14 on the inside. Oh, Anthony English is going to split him. Kevin Freese goes with. The inside still got a good run, but the middle has absolutely no help. Tim White is going to have to find a spot in line here, and it's going to hope that it's just behind the 74. Sure enough, he does. That's Brian Hennings, and man, Tim White just got treated like a rookie right there. Got absolutely no help. So they split him, and now, Nagels is going to jump up just in the nick of time. He's able to get clear. Looking for potentially a 3-wide move there was John Ward in the 92. The Hyper Motorsports captain doesn't bite. And now that Cody's in a spot where he is, he's got Kevin Freese just in front of him, or not just in front of him, 2 spots in front of him, and a teammate just next to him. I don't think you'll see the 6 take it 3 wide, but I am curious to see if maybe that 239 car decides to try to get some payback by taking it 3 wide himself. Doesn't look like he's going to go for it, at least not right now, as man, these guys are all over the place. Now we're going to see some more 3 wide here, as it'll be Navarro who splits the 239 at Tim White. Down the back, looks like the 74 of Brian Hennings. He will jump up as well. That'll give 2 cars. Oh, the 74 is going to go around into the outside wall. He's trying to save it. Oh, this isn't going to work. There's too many on the apron. No way. They all hold on. They do. Somehow they all save it. But this is going to cause major separation. Joe Herta gathers it back up. There goes the 35 of Dylan Jones. He's still got some momentum. Brian Hennings also was able to save it, but you see he's got pretty significant damage there on the right front of his car. And it's just, that car is not turning much at all. It looks like he's actually washing up the track right here, trying to get this thing to turn. Go on board Brian Hennings. Yeah, look how much wheel he's got into it. So he's got some suspension damage, and pretty major suspension damage at that. As that wheel in the corner was just about 45 degrees to the left, and he's going to have to take this thing in and get it patched up here before he comes back out at this rate. And it was just, I talked about it, it's that aggression factor. It's still early on, but Navarro, he wanted to get linked up, and he tried it. The problem was, just was not the right setup for it here. And we're going to back this all the way up a lap and a half. Show you exactly where it all goes south here for Brian Hennings. Started with the push from Andrew Navarro. I still cannot believe the entire field saved this here. I mean, this looked like it was disaster, and somehow it ended up being nobody getting wrecked. But we'll go to the zoomed-in view first. And watch here as jumps up, and then you see Navarro coming into the background here on the right side of your screen. And he's got a ton of momentum here, and just gets him in the corner as the 74 is starting to come back down the track. It's just a really vulnerable spot again. And car can't take it, gets unsettled, gets down into Mullihan, and then back up into the outside wall he goes. He saves it. That wasn't really, honestly, the big hold your breath moment. The big hold your breath moment was for everybody below him here that had a big moment all themselves here, as they all had to somehow save it. Watch this. See if we can get a little bit of a better view here, essentially from the chopper view. Watch all these saves as Mullahan goes low. You see the 239 get low, and then they all think he's wrecking at this point. So look at Trevor Osmanoff, Kenny Reel, Joe Herta, even Sean Corbett here. All these guys that go below the yellow, even in the grass. I mean, look how sideways some of them get. Joe Herta is about 30 degrees from center here, trying to hold on to this car. He does so, starts to slide back up. Kenny Reel's in the same boat. I mean, normally we can see one good save, but it's rare that we see that many good saves all in a row. Phenomenal job by everybody right there. As we go back live up front, look at the breakaways that this one has caused as now the lead pack. It's a lot less cars than it was just a couple laps ago, but there's a second pack that is just on the verge of catching these guys. For that, though, it is Kevin Freeze being scored as your leader. Cody Nagels in second. Anthony English back in third. Making John Mullahan in third now. English to fourth. Vicente Guerrero in fifth. Bradley Steffen sixth. Mark Math in seventh. Dawson Wise in eighth. John Ward ninth. And Tim White rounding out your top 10. Ron Morris Jr., J.R. Miller, and Andrew Navarro, the rest of the guys in this pack. And now they're going to tag on and extend because Logan York has caught up. Looks like Mike Davenport, Trevor Osmanoff, and a couple others. They're going to try three wide, but J.R. Miller, John Ward beat him to the punch. And so as this group, what was 10, is formed up now to about 20 again. Kenneth Stamper, actually it's 19 in total. Kenneth Stamper in 20th. Right now he's leading a pack that looks like it's all single file, but it's a pack of about 5-6 cars. Justin Mills, Stephen Scott Jr., Jacob Emery, Christopher Carter, and one other, and that's Ken McCullough Jr. And so right now, a lot of the field is in desperate need of a caution. In fact, 33rd all the way up to 20th, 13 cars in desperate need of a caution to have a chance at this thing. But if we get into a green flag stop, it could erase that. Fitz says, remember earlier you said sometimes it's worth to risk going full hammer through it. Yeah, well, it's true, Fitz. I mean, I think I was saying some guys were taking the risk of just full hammer through it in terms of that one wreck we had where we saw a lot of guys that narrowly missed it. It was the one where Dustin Crothers narrowly, or T-boned, I forgot who it was. He T-boned somebody in turn one. Yeah, it was Davenport. And there was a lot of guys that shot the gap by just keeping the hammer down, and that's that risk versus reward, which, I mean, hey, fair enough. In this case, worked out well for a lot of them, and it's just a split-second decision you got to make as a driver. You see a wreck, and you either think, you know, I'm going to be able to check up in time, and I'm going to, or I'm not going to be able to check up in time. Let me try to shoot the gap in between it. But right now, back to three wide as we've got some lap cars coming up, and the windshield here of a couple of your leaders. Go on board here with Kevin Freeze as you see them merging out on track. Looks like the 26, I believe that was Tayshawn, sure enough, and then going by the 45 of Sean Corbett. Put those two a lap down. John Mullahan looking to surge out in front as Kevin Freeze looking for a bit of a side draft. Ooh. Oh, you hear him burping out of throttle here big time. Boy, that car is loose. Not sure if he was getting pushed right there by Logan York or what, but yeah, Freeze was out of the throttle a couple different times there, which you normally don't hear from the leader unless there's, again, the car feeling unsteady, what the deal was. But we're coming up on 25 laps to go this next time around, so crunch time is just around the corner here after that final green flag stop. And I'm interested to see, will anybody go in early, or does everybody maybe try to run this thing out? Man, Logan York is all over the back bumper of Kevin Freeze. It's working well. These guys are surging ahead, but man, it's only going to take that one slip up. Turn Kevin around, calls the big one. You saw Logan duck out to the left there, just looking for some air. Down the Alabama Gang super stretch. And now Dawson Wise is going to do the same. Third car in line needs a little bit of air as well. That'll cause a brief checkup on the outside. Mullahan's still on the bottom, though. He's looking for a couple teammates. He's got a couple in this pack with Ron Morris Jr. Actually, I wasn't sure if David Sheets was still up here in the mix as well. He got involved in one of those incidents. Looks like he is not up here in the mix, so actually Mullahan just with one more teammate, but they are not bumper to bumper, at least not at the current moment. Matt Lee, by the way, at the back of this pack, that is not for position right now. Lee is one of the guys that's hoping to get a lap back, so he fell one down. And Bradley Steffen, you see he's lost the pack now. In fact, look at the track map. Looks more like we're at a track like Bristol than Talladega, the spread that we've seen right now. Talked about speeds and what things have potentially changed, and Looking at the speeds here, about 185 miles an hour through the corner. But as they rocket onto the straightaway, this is where the outside gets the momentum. And if Logan York's able to link up with Freeze here, they should get well over 190 miles an hour. And the Trial, a very sketchy place to push. But again, the thing that I'm really the most, I don't know if I want to say thrown off as a broadcaster about that I just don't see often, was Kevin Freeze with the brief little lifts out of the throttle. And again, I think that was something to do with him just trying to keep the car stable, as these things tend to dart around, and that hot track temp has made them all the more treacherous here tonight. Logan York with another push to the back of Kevin Freeze there on the exit of turn number 2. Joe Herda at the back of this pack as well. 24, going to be 23 laps to go when they cross the line this time around. And, oh man, Kevin finally able to get back clear of the bottom, and he took full advantage of it as he drops down. Causes a checkup on the bottom, but that will allow Logan York to get some much-needed temps. Finally has a chance to cool down. And I thought Mullihan would maybe go up there. Quite for a minute he had the chance to, but he decided better of it. And so it's going to be Kevin Freeze who will lead the field across the line this time, but from the bottom. And 23 to go based off when, again, the window is not quite open. The window is going to open here in probably about 3 to 4 laps in terms of how the earliest rather that you could pit, at least if you're trying to play it safe for potentially a green-white checkered or two. And if you want to go as soon as you can just make it to the end, you probably go either this lap or next lap. I just don't see that being the feasible option, though. So a question of, will anybody decide to come in right at the beginning, or will they all try to run this thing out till about the end? Again, no real fuel mileage racing here. More or less just going to be who can execute on the stop, and then the real race is going to be on once everybody has cycled out. And the more lap cars they pick up, the more volume that you're adding to this pack, and the more potential racing that you're going to have later between guys going for the lead and guys trying to fight for the lucky dog. 22 laps to go, and after a lot of wrecking that we saw earlier on, things have seemed to have calmed down now as we stay in a uniform 2x2 formation, going by the 88 there of Jacob Fears. Down the back, still some more lap traffic in the windshield for Kevin Freeze. Kenny Reel back in the pack. In fact, we're going to go back here to Tim White. He's on the inside running just a row back and to the inside, in fact, of Dylan Jones. Actually, this is Tim White. I meant to go up a spot to Kenny Reel, who's in 15th, sitting just behind Trevor Osronoff. And when these guys are thinking about pitting, well, they're going to go early here. Osronoff is bringing it down way earlier than I would have expected here. Who else goes in? Is it just Trevor? We'll go back. It is just Trevor Osronoff brings it down to the pits. This is a very bold strategy. I'm not sure if Trevor wanted to do this, or facial expression certainly doesn't look too pleased on the driver cam. Not sure if he was hoping maybe somebody would go down with him or what the deal was, but there were absolutely no other takers. And it certainly could indicate that we're getting ready to see a bunch of stops, but yeah, in this case, that's not good news for Trevor Osronoff. If they don't pit this time, he will definitely be out of the draft. May still be, even if they do pit this time, because, oh, Dawson. Man, Dawson got a little out of shape there, and he got into the door of John Mullihan. So let's see, does anybody decide to peel off this time? Yes, looks like we are going to get quite a few more. Oh, late braking zone. There are a lot of them locking it up. Not going to make it in. Boy, we had a lot of lockups there. I saw Cody Nagels. You would have thought his brakes were on fire with the amount of smoke coming out of the wheel wells. Watch this. They bailed late, too. They did not want a lot of people knowing about this, I don't think. And look at Cody. He is drifting that car into the pits. Oh, my goodness. And then you see Tim White, Mark Math behind with similar issues. Big lockups for this whole group trying to get down to pit speed. And we'll see in a brief second if any of them got penalties. But watch this from Cody's onboard view. He was doing a little dirt track in here to the pits. That was Kevin Freeze. And sorry, I meant to go back to Cody. But Kevin showed you there his view, and you saw even he was working the wheel quite a bit. This was Cody's right here. Oh my goodness. That might be even better than some of the saves that we saw earlier. I don't know how they do it, but they keep finding a way. Let's go back live, working his way off the pits. The bad news, well, actually, I don't know if it's bad news. I think they actually got out okay. I can't tell if they got a speeding penalty or not. I was trying to figure out how Trevor Osronoff actually fared out of all this, and he's still on the pit, so really not sure what happened to Trevor here, if he had an issue or what, but again, he has put it on the pits for now, and Seems like he's keeping it there for the moment. More pit stops were underway. We missed the initial stop. We're catching the back half of it. The exit here has multiple cars down the pits and a couple that are still on the pits, including David Sheets, Thomas Parker, and Mark Vondell, Dustin Carruthers as well, Zach Range. Wonder if any of these guys got a potential penalty. By the way, I think I said Stamper earlier. It might have been Thomas Parker for that wreck as well. Nope, it was indeed Kenneth Stamper, I think, that I saw. And speaking of Kenneth Stamper in 6th right now, is going to see more pit stops here from some of your leaders. By the way, this is that final sequence, so everybody that's pitting now, this will be it. Unless we get a caution, you decide to pit again, this will be your final stop. 18 laps to go. Kenneth Stamper right now leading the way. Jacob Emery in 2nd, up 29 from where he started. Justin Mills 3rd, Steven Scott Jr. in 4th. Christopher Carter 5th, Ken McCullough Jr. in 6th. You get the ball back in 7th, Dylan Jones 8th, Jared Miller 9th, Ron Morris Jr. 10th, Mike Davenport 11th, and then there's Dawson Wise and John Ward leading the 2nd group. And they are roaring up on that group that's just coming out of the pits here in a hurry. And they're going to get there, and they're probably going to fly right by these guys. So we'll see. This could get 3 wide here for just a moment. As looking in the distance, there they are, Davenport and Brian Hennings. They thought about fanning out 2 by 2 there for a moment. That was probably a good idea to not, but unfortunately the 11 of Kenny Reel is going to have to check up as he couldn't figure it out in time. And so the pit stops for the leaders now, or which I should say are your current leaders, still nowhere in sight just yet, but we know that these guys do have to pit. They were not with the lead pack. They won't be when they do come out of the pits. And so the race for the lead is between Andrew Navarro and everybody else in this group right now, which looks like it extends all the way back to, is it Tim White? Looks like Kenny Reel and Tim White. Ooh, Tim White's just about in drafting range. Oh, I think he's just slightly outside of it as Kenny Reel might try to hold him in, but it's just not going to quite be enough. That is a tough break for Tim White, who was having an excellent night. By the way, Kenny Reel in 21st, Andrew Navarro in 8th. That's showing you that you have just about 10 to 13 cars in this lead pack. I said 21st to 8th. Yeah, it's about, make it 13 or so. And so there's only 5 spots that pay, but after the green flag stop, oh, they're not going to make it to the finish. Oh, there goes English. They're going to wreck. Anthony English back up the racetrack. They are wrecking down the short chute. Caution is out. 44 goes for a slide. And he's able to loop it back around, get to the pits, and looks like he is going to have to take it down for service. With 16 laps to go, the caution flies, and as soon as you saw that big 3-wide sweeping move to the outside, I was just getting ready to say these guys are not going to make it another 16 laps, and sure enough, they do not here. All right, let's go back and see how this one starts for Anthony English. Does he just get a push here from Dawson Wise? I'm going to go first to the chopper view, I think. And watch, so there's Dawson in the 9 just behind the 44 here, and Anthony gets a little bit loose. He gets down the track, and he's just trying to save it. Dawson cuts him a break here. In fact, he's still trying to save it, and then eventually, I mean, I think Dawson pretty much keeps it off of him, and if he touches him, it is just ever so slightly, and there's nothing Dawson can do. I mean, at this point, English is full-blown trying to save the car. Dawson's trying everything to keep it off of him, and then once the 44 gets down to the 78, he's going to go back up the track here and collects Dawson Wise. And then back down the track goes Anthony English, and he gets tagged by the 55 of Mike Davenport. Let's go to the onboard view here for Anthony English. Is really surprised to see him get this out of shape. We know Anthony from OP and very talented driver here, but he's just putting too much wheel movement in it. You just can't do it at this point on these older tires. And when you're putting that much wheel movement in a car, if you go up the track and then turn it back down, it's very easy to get it upset. And, you know, was there something that initially gets him upset? No, I mean, I'm assuming he's trying to follow Mullihan here, but he just starts to get out of shape and then gets behind on his steering and, for the most part, kind of loses it all by himself there. And yikes, that did pretty heavy damage to Dawson's car. You saw the front end get ripped off. Talk about Dawson trying to do pretty much everything he could to stay off of him. Watch the view here from Dawson Wise. That was the initial view before the contact, but this was from where it started to where it ends. He was trying to guess whether or not he was going to spin low or back high, and unfortunately, he just didn't quite guess it right. So that's a tough break, but Dawson does have a fast burst, so he'll get it used, and be right back to where he started. As you see him now taking it down to the pits. Meanwhile, up front, 14 laps to go. It's John Ward being scored as your leader. Andrew Navarro in second. John Mullihan back in third with Vicente Guerrero in fourth. Cody Nagels in fifth. Dylan Jones in sixth. Logan York in seventh. J.R. Miller eighth. Kevin Freese in ninth. And Ron Morris Jr. rounding out your top 10. Aubrey Thompson, good to see you in the chat. With that, we are going to take another quick break, but we'll go side by side again so you don't miss the thing. Stick with us. We will be right back at Talladega.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Friday Night Money Racing for PGR eSports at Talladega Superspeedway. Closing in on the end of this one, going to be 12 laps to go. Just briefly here before they go back green, give you an idea what the payouts are looking like tonight. A little bit less than this, as I don't think they quite had this many drivers. Yeah, it was based off of 45, had 37, but still pretty close. 300 to first, 250 to second, 200 to third, 175 to fourth, and 150 to fifth. So still great payouts here tonight, but I'm telling you, I think I have a bad feeling, funny feeling, we'll say a funny feeling that these next 12 laps are going to be some of the longest 12 laps that we have seen in a while, because that's a lot of money. And now that everybody's good to go on fuel, fresh tires, this is going to get wild. Third lane's going to be formed up quick. Field in the hands, though, of John Ward and Andrew Navarro. Here we go, 92 in the 44 into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. Good restart for John Ward. Disorganization on both lanes. It's a two-car tandem duo battle up front. Mullihan and Ward versus Jones and Navarro. And it looks like the bottom, though, is getting separated. This is exactly what the top needs. Navarro, if the help can get there first, he's going to roll. And he is really starting to roll now, but here comes the help back to the bottom. Vicente Guerrero with a push on John Mullihan. It doesn't matter. It's not enough. Navarro with a big surge of momentum as he will now take the lead down the backstretch. Is he going to jump down? Is he trying to pull Jones with him? Not going to work. Jones is going to stay high as Navarro jumps down to the inside. Cody Nagels works his way up the track here. I think that 6 is trying to set himself up to potentially go 3 wide here in just a moment. Doesn't have any teammates, doesn't have any teammates near him, I should say. The 35 of Jones, though, working by himself with help from J.R. Miller right now. And here we go. 2 up top. The first 2 up top, it's going to be Christopher Carter and Ken McCullough Jr. Further back, those 2 used to be teammates way back in the day, both on McCullough Motorsports. And Christopher Carter, no stranger to super speedway racing, as he's up top. Blinked out a little bit there, and they're going to get some more takers on the charge up here. I can promise you that. Question is going to be who's the first one to go, and how quickly do they start getting more and more, as it looks like they've already drawn a couple of takers behind them. The 239 of Tim White. He's been aggressive all night. He's been paying off. Will he jump out here? Matt Lee does. Now the 20 of Jacob Emery is going to go up as well. That makes it now from 3 to 4 cars strong on the top. Ooh, Jacob Emery starts to get out of shape. A big moment for the outside. That's going to stall their momentum just for a moment. Still 3 wide towards the middle of the pack, but 2 by 2 up front. Dylan Jones leading the bottom. J.R. Miller up top. He will now take the lead with 10 laps to go. Don't forget J.R. Miller and Tuesday Night Thunder. Early portions of the season got a win, and that series is in these cars, and it was at this track. So J.R. Miller, no stranger to how to get it done here. Ooh, a lot of side draft and wreck it out back. Huge hit to the outside wall. John Mullahan. 2 cars spin. Vicente Guerrero wrecking towards the inside now is Steven Scott Jr. in the 3. Vicente Guerrero comes to a halt. Steven Scott Jr. does as well. More damage from multiple others. John Mullahan's going to tow it. So now with just 10 laps to go, we see our 5th caution of the night. And so now this will put us in a restart with probably closer to 5 laps to go. 5 or 6 laps to go. And I think we could potentially be seeing an overtime with the way the racing is going to be with this next one. But here we go. Let's see what sparks this one here. It started right around... Oh, that's either a checkup or somebody pushing the pusher here. Big time. Watch this. Let's go to TV3 first. Is it a stack up or is it a... Let's see. Watch it in full speed here. It might be a little bit of a stack up, but I think... Look how close these 3 are running here, and I wish I could show, in fact, since I can. Watch these 3 right here. Carruthers, Tim White, and then the 3 right here, Steven Scott Jr. Notice how close they are, so that slight checkup gets the 239 of Tim White offset to the left on the back bumper of Steven Scott, and that is all that was needed to turn him down the track into Mullahan. And then there's the big hit for John Mullahan, hard into the outside wall, as was Tim White. Vicente Guerrero gets looped around here a couple times. I think he gets hit again. No, we might have got clipped in the front, but overall I think he actually missed most of it. And then I'm going to go back to the view here for John Mullahan, as he took quite the brunt from this one. He's having such a good night, too. Qualified on pole, was pretty much doing everything right up to this point, and good to see it come to an end like this. As you see up top, Thomas Parker was committed to the outside. He's going to try to find a way to miss it. Can't do it. And then there's Steven Scott Jr. down on the inside. Joe Herta collides with him. He's got nowhere to go. Watch this again here. The cockpit view of Steven Scott Jr. There's the contact between him and Joe Herta, and it's not the only contact. I think they hit each other about 3 different times here. So there's more contact for him and Joe Herta. So we'll watch it here. I'm going to get a couple more angles of this one. First from the zoomed in view. And it's just, I mean, we're at that point in the race, right? All bets are off. Everybody is going for it at this point. And up the track. Boom. Up in the air goes Tim White. But it's the guys that slide down to the inside wall here. Oh, Christopher Carter. Oh, man. Another huge hit. This one definitely collected its fair share of fast spares. There's definitely going to be some more guys that probably have to retire from the race after this one if they already used fast pair. You see Ken McCullough Jr. roll into frame at the end there. Jimmy Emos. Looks like he almost tags the inside wall. In fact, he does make a little bit of contact. So as we go back live, again, 5th caution of the night, and it's going to put us at a restart with, looks like it's going to end up being 6 laps to go here. Assume we get the one to go this time. As Fitz says, show Zach Range is on board. All right, sure enough. Didn't notice it through the TV cams, but hey, why not? I'm sure he had a pretty cool view of this one here. Here we go. This is on board with Zach Range. Gets loose, sees it. Oh my goodness. Well, you didn't catch that one on TV cameras because it was a blur. That was what it looked like on the onboard. I want to see what this looked like from the outside view here. Let's see, watch Zach Range of the 43. There he is. The 043. Oh, he does. He does hit the 3. I don't think it actually counts as damage, though, on the 043 there. But wow, was that close. All right, so we'll go back live now. As yes, we did get the one to go signal. Christopher Carter stopped on the apron. Oh, man, that was close. Well, Steven Scott Jr. catch up in a hurry. Thought we were going to have a rear-end collision there. Nonetheless, though, this will be a 6 lap to go restart again. And so we got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. That'd be 5 laps under green. Don't see it happening, but certainly see the aggression level and the great racing level amping up right here as you got Navarro and Jones in row 1, Miller and Freeze in row 2, and Ward and York in row number 3. Nagel's back in 7th, Vondell 8th, Ron Morris Jr. in 9th, and David Sheets rounding out your top 10. All right, who do you got here? It's a tough choice because, again, anybody in the top 10 realistically has a shot to win it, and even in the top 20, because if they wreck big on the last lap, you never know what could happen. Now, if we get another caution, by the way, at this point, well, I guess if we get one in the first lap, it may not be, but if we get a caution anytime, I think after the first lap, it will push us into the first of 3 potential overtimes. This race started at 10:40, so not doing too bad on time. Get a couple more cautions than maybe some of these guys would have liked to see tonight, but overall the racing's been good. We had that decently long green flag run where we saw full and complete green flag pit stops in the cycles and how it panned out. And now we're at the point where it is a full-blown sprint, and I was trying to look at the amount of guys that got back on the lead lap, and it goes pretty far back now. A lot of guys that had needed a break with the 1 caution, and now guys that are still a lap down, such as Carruthers, Zach Range, and a couple others. They're hoping that we see some more cautions before this thing is all said and done. All right, there we go. Pace car going to pull off. Jones and Navarro in row 1. Not direct teammates, but I think they're working together tonight, at least with how good the chemistry's been so far. Green flag back in the air. 6 laps to go at Talladega. Good restart this time, uniform and even throughout the entirety of the field. Everybody was able to get up through the gears without any trouble this time around. And it is the 35 of Dylan Jones on the bottom with a push from J.R. Miller. Meanwhile, you've got the 44 of Andrew Navarro with a push from Kevin Freeze up top. Cody Nagels was able to just sneak in line right there in front of Mark Vondell and just behind Logan York. John Ward third on the inside, 76 Ron Morris Jr. up there as well. Remember last time we saw Ken McCullough Jr., one of the guys to try to get that third lane work in, and now you ask yourself, who tries to do it this time now that some of those guys have been wrecked out? I look to maybe David Sheets, Mark Vondell. That's 2 teammates lined up. Maybe they can get some help from out back, or maybe they wait till they see the run start to come out back and try it then. Going to be coming to 5 laps to go this time. Still over 10 miles remaining in this race to decide who is going to go home tonight with close to $300. Andrew Navarro on the bottom, leading Dylan Jones. Freeze now with a push up top from Logan York. He's got one of the most aggressive pushers behind him, Kevin Freeze, that is. And I think if Logan can get Kevin clear, Kevin's probably going to jump to the bottom. Problem is, you've got Jones and Navarro on the bottom right now, and that is going to be a tough duo to get around. Meanwhile, third lane looks like it's starting to get formed up. Navarro jumps back to the top. It's the 4 of Justin Mills getting a push from Ken McCullough Jr. in the 03. Remember, Ken was just in that last wreck, but you can see just how quickly he was getting back up here and already ready to get back to it. And now they're going to get another taker here. Looks like it's the 30 of Kenneth Stamper, but they're going to bail. They'll leave the 30 of Kenneth Stamper out to dry. Third lane even further back with Vicente Guerrero and Dawson Wise. Those two linked up, trying to see if they can get closer to the front right now before we get to the white flag or before the next wreck. 2x2 for the first 5 rows as Navarro is still glued to the top, waiting to see if he can get enough of a push here from Kevin Freeze to get back clear the bottom. And a brief internet blink there. Nonetheless, though, they'll be coming to 3 to go as Navarro is going to get back clear to the bottom as he jumps down. That'll give Freeze the chance to cool. Meanwhile, David Sheets now up to the 3rd lane. McCullough Motorsports starting to get lined up. Oh, hold on to it. Stamper starting to get out of shape. Oh, no. Ken McCullough Jr. into Zach Range. They're going to pile him up again. Caution is out. As Steven Scott Jr. is going to run into Zach Range at the end. And oh, watch out. These two. Ooh, man. Looks like Vicente gets back rolling. I think that was the 30 of Kenneth Stamper who is junk. And so we are going to be headed to overtime. All right, let's see where this one goes wrong. It looked like Ken, not sure if he got out of shape or what happened, but that's where it really started. It just looked like Ken McCullough Jr. got down into Kenneth Stamper. But it almost, like I said, something happened with that car in terms of, I think he just, maybe did he get loose or did he get help? I thought he just got loose. He just turns down into Zach Range. I mean, certainly not intentional, but you just wonder, did he realize there was a car down there, or did he just get loose? I mean, oh, I think he was maybe trying to jump. I'm not sure. My best guess here was that he was trying to jump in behind, but I mean, there wasn't. I don't even know if the gap behind was there. Boy, it was really, really close if it was, and I gotta believe maybe Ken McCullough Jr. there just made a mistake, just misjudged something, or either the car stepped out on him or misjudged something. Point was, though, he just got down into Zach Range, and when he did, turn Range dead nuts into the fence. You saw Stamper there take a pretty big shot as well. There goes Stamper, and then Zach Range piles in. Sean Corbett, I think, sneaked around. No, I thought he did, but then there's the secondary impact that does a lot of damage to that 45 machine. And then you see the 14 of Vicente Guerrero there. He goes for a slide. I couldn't tell if he actually hit the inside wall or if he was able to stop just before it made contact. Oh, Stamper. Second hit to the inside wall was another big shot. There's the initial hit. Watch Vicente Guerrero. He's trying to miss it and spins it out, locks it down, and not quite going to miss the inside wall. It does make some contact. Don't think it's race ending, but certainly going to affect the aero of that car a little bit. I want to give you one more view of this here from the turn 4 exit cam. All right, as we go back live now, again, this is going to put us into our first of 3 overtime attempts. And up front, it is Andrew Navarro and the 44 machine, Kevin Freeze in second, Dylan Jones third, Logan York in fourth, J.R. Miller in fifth, Cody Nagel sixth, John Ward in seventh, Mark Vondell in eighth with Ron Morse Jr. in ninth, and Justin Mills for BAR. Good run for him tonight. He's up 9 from where he started, rounding out your top 10. All right, well, we are going to take one more commercial break. Hopefully should be our last one here tonight, and then we'll get this thing wrapped up. Stick with us. We will be right back for the finish at Talladega.
flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3.
Almost throw trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Back live at Talladega Superspeedway. Here we go for overtime number 1 for the Friday Night Superspeedway Series. Pace car is going to pull off, field in the hands of Navarro. He is looking to see if he can cap off the week here with a good win tonight. Showed a lot of speed, been up front quite a bit. Now he's got to finish the job off. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If not, we get a caution on that first lap. We will rack him up and try it again. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go at Talladega. Good start for the 44. Kevin Freeze, though, with a big push. Looks like Navarro's quickly going to work his way back up to the top of the racetrack. Into turn 1, Navarro on the high side. Dylan Jones on the low side. J.R. Miller now looks like he starts to get a surge, but the bottom is broken up. Oh, man, this top is getting ready to have a huge run. Navarro may have to do a little bit of blocking here because Kevin Freeze is going to get that 44 clear. And can Freeze potentially get himself clear here before turn 3? Doesn't look like it. Navarro jumped down. The 25 is not quite going to get enough of a run to get clear in front of him. Meanwhile, out back, you got these guys already fanning out 3 wide. Question is, can we make it to the white flag and make this race official? Tim White just in front of the 04 Matt Lee, 2x2. Oh, never mind. The 239 is going to go around into the inside wall. Huge hit. David Sheets gets shot around. Can we make it? Looks like no caution. We do. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega. 2x2 into turn 1. Will there be a third lane? Will it get working? And will there be enough time to get to the front with it? Right now, it's still Andrew Navarro on the bottom. Kevin Freeze up top. Jones pushing. Oh, Navarro looked up. Freeze chose not to split him. He's going to stay pushing for now. That caused a big stack up. Now they're going 3 wide. Everybody looking for a block. Logan York tried to block Cody Nagels. He couldn't do it. And now Nagels jumps back down, or excuse me, not Nagels, Matt Lee jumps back down. John Ward pushing Nagels up top. Oh, they're starting to bump and bang. They might wreck. One on the apron. Now they're wrecking big out back, and they're going to wreck towards the middle. Up front, still clean. Navarro leading. Jones behind. Will Dylan Jones look to make a move. Kevin Freeze looking for one more push. No help behind. They're not going to have enough of a run. Does Jones make the move? He doesn't. Andrew Navarro wins it at Talladega. He gets the job done as Lee gives him a little victory bump, and oh, well, we're not going to see a celebration now. They're piling in afterwards. No help from behind, and Jones was more than okay with sticking to the back bumper of Andrew Navarro. Gets him the win. A well-deserved one at that for Andrew Navarro. Let's take a look at your finishing results here on the night. Everybody still finishing it up. Of course, we'll get your top 3 in here, or your top 3 hopefully in here for interviews in just a moment. But before we do that, Navarro is your winner. Dylan Jones 2nd. Kevin Freeze in 3rd with J.R. Miller in 4th. Matt Lee 5th. Logan York in 6th. Cody Nagels 7th. John Ward in 8th. Kenny Reel 9th. And Mark Math rounding out your top 10. Anthony English finishes in 11th. Justin Mills in 12th. Ken McCullough Jr. in 13th. Mark Vondell in 14th. And it's going to be Ron Morris Jr. rounding out the top 15. Jacob Emery 16th. Thomas Parker 17th with Dawson Wise in 18th. Dustin Crothers 19th. And Jacob Fears rounding out your top 20. Bradley Steffen 21st. David Sheets 22nd. Tim White 23rd with Mike Davenport in 24th. Christopher Carter in 25th. Tayshawn in 26th with Sente Guerrero 27th. Steven Scott in 28th with Sean Corbett 29th. And Kenneth Stamper in 30th. Zach Raines 31st, John Mullihan in 32nd, Joe Herda in 33rd, Jimmy Emos 34th, Brian Hennings 35th, Trevor Oswald 36th, and Robert Wagner rounding out the field tonight. He finishes in 37th. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews if we can find them. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, back live at Talladega Superspeedway. We're going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Kevin Freeze. Kevin, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Well, man, you bring home a third place finish in a pretty chaotic race, but overall you found yourself up front for most of it. Had a little bit of everything, but it all came down to the end. And break us down kind of that last lap and what happened there in the trial as everything seemed to kind of get broken up.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that the top just didn't go, and they were all, I think, pushing pretty tight, but they just never got a run moving. And then Matt Lee came out of nowhere, and I saw him. I'm like, I'm going to go get that run. And I just pulled down in front of him, and he gave me a nice shove and locked up that P3. So strong running tonight. These cars were an absolute handful on the tires if you didn't change them out. I think you probably saw that with people on the bottom lane. That's where it seemed to affect the car the most. But I mean, these cars are fun. It's just with the elevated temps, you really have to work your butt off to make that third lane go, because you really only get like one shot at it. So track position was everything tonight.
Certainly was, and you maintained it pretty much all the way through this race. Well, before we let you head out to celebrate your third place winnings, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you to you for putting on the broadcast. Mike for stepping in the race control position tonight, and a happy birthday to Baker, and a great job to Andrew on the win.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Again, congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next Thursday.
All right, have a good night.
All right, and now that'll bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, Dylan Jones. Dylan, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Sure do.
Well, as always, you seem to start the race a little bit further towards the back, and you just slowly creep all the way until you get to the front and never look back from there. Last 2 laps, actually last couple restarts, looked like you and Navarro had a little teamwork going. You pushed him to the win. What was going through your mind, and how'd you make the decision to stick with 44?
Yeah, I jumped in there to help him at the end there because there's quite a few teammates up front going to help each other, so it can be difficult without any help at the end there. So thankfully we were able to hook up and get a good finish for both of us.
Absolutely. Well, not too much crazy with your night. You were one of the few guys that didn't get involved in a lot of the chaos that went on. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Thank you, Austin, for putting the broadcast on tonight, and PGR for putting on all these great races, and all the drivers tonight. It was a pretty good race, actually.
Certainly was, and thank you, of course, for talking to us again. Congrats on the second place finish. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right, and now that'll lead us to your winner here tonight, Andrew Navarro. Andrew, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, you get the job done. Wasn't maybe one of the most stressful ones you've got, but nonetheless, we just heard from Dylan Jones. You guys worked pretty good together at the end, but you had to maintain control for quite a bit of laps there towards the end of the race. How did you manage to do that with the hot track temp and the slick tires?
Just hoping to stay out front, and just didn't want to pit with anybody. We did that pretty well. I'm surprised actually we held on after pit stops. The pack probably should have just gone completely around us, but I think they got stalled out right before they got to us, which then we caught the I think it was a yellow after 2 laps. So we've kind of gifted the track position. We were up there though when we pit, obviously, but we weren't directly, up front. And then obviously at that point, it's just keeping me and Dylan connected, because as much as I trust Kevin and all those guys, definitely I think also the bottom's just a safer option. And I was just happy to finish one of these. I haven't finished a money race in so long, so I was just pretty stoked to even be going the right way at the checkered flag. So, yeah, pretty fun one though.
Well, you got one now on Friday here tonight. You think this carries enough momentum to go back to back and get one next Thursday?
I don't even know what the track and car combo is, but definitely be interesting. I hope it repeats, but I don't know. It's just such a toss up, especially at these plate tracks, and usually we run different cars on Thursday, so you really can't take anything from this. But yeah, hoping to go back to back.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you head out tonight to celebrate in Victory Lane, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Celebrity Cruises, Seven Seas Events, Martin Sports, Adrenaline Captures, Premier Racing Setups, and everybody at Premier. And you guys for broadcasting, and Michael for putting on the league.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Gang, congrats on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Talladega. Another good night of money racing, and I hope everybody did enjoy it. What a win for Andrew Navarro. Him and Dylan Jones worked together to perfection at the end, and they both cash in good spots as a result. That'll do it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR Esports. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a good night.